The current exhibition, Japan, the Spirit of Nature, was organized to showcase several different themes. One theme is the persistence and relevance of Japanese classical art in a contemporary context. Unlike the West, where contemporary artists sometimes like to throw out all of Western art history to start anew, in Japan, the past remains a very fertile and energizing place to begin from. So the exhibition features an important loan of historical works from Stockholm's East Asian Antiquities Museum, including works by Hokusai, the great printmaker, Tosa Mitsunori, a fantastic Yamato-e painter, and his Tale of Genji, and other examples. The other theme of the exhibition, however, was suggested by the curator Mami Kataoka from the Mori Art Museum in Tokyo. And in a conversation, she said, not only is the past alive in this art historical way, but it's alive in a spiritual dimension as well. The earliest writings in Japan are expressions of the Shinto religion, and in that religion there is a sense of animism, where the rocks and the trees and the water and the air is all animated by spiritual beings. And this sense of this ancient animism also informs contemporary art. So the exhibition looks for these invisible spirits, and in some cases those invisible spirits are actual demons and ogres, and we can see the classical guardian spirits from the Shinto religion depicted in these works of art in a contemporary way. But in other cases, it's much more metaphorical. It's about the spirit of femininity in some cases, and even about the invisible presence of radiation that is in the landscape after the Fukushima disaster in 2011. The works represented in the exhibition all draw on a connection to watercolor painting as we understand it in the West. And in only one case, there is classical watercolor in the way that we understand it in the West. In the work of Akira Yamaguchi, he is working with traditional watercolor, which uses a gum Arabic binder. But in Japan and in many other East Asian countries, including China, when the artist works with color and water media, they use a fish glue as the binder instead of the gum Arabic. In the late 19th century, there was a great interest that was rekindled in classical Japanese painting. And so this fish glue binder returned, and artists worked on silk in the way that they had before the Meiji Restoration. And one of the artists in the exhibition, Fuyuko Matsui, works in this very classical, beautiful way. So her work is a different kind of watercolor. But then another artist in the exhibition is working with watercolor on a completely unconventional surface. And she is working on cowhide. So it is a combination of watercolor pencil, classical Western watercolor, but working on a non-traditional surface like cowhide that is represented. And then finally, we have artists who are working in animation and just with washi paper, the mulberry paper that is used in classical Japanese art. Takashi Kurabayashi has created an entire environment exclusively out of paper. And the exhibition also features work from 1951 by the important modernist Isamu Noguchi, who saw lanterns in Japan during his travels and created a whole sense of abstract light sculpture that he called akari. So all of these things relate to the classical tradition of watercolor in Japan and in the West, but in completely unconventional and contemporary ways. We're very excited about the exhibition because it showcases a culture that we think we know, the culture of Japan, but it showcases, I think, a subtlety that maybe we don't know so well. Japan has always been at the center of receiving influences from all over the world. Buddhism came from China, but of course originated in India. And that was a huge influence in early Japanese art. Then in 1868, at the beginning of the Meiji Restoration period, there was this huge influence from the West. Actually, Western painting and perspective was taught in all the schools. So Japan is one of the first countries to completely westernize, in Asia, to completely westernize its approach to art making. It has an extremely specific aesthetic that is very strong in contemporary art, just as strong as it has been in historical periods. I think it's very important for all of us to relearn about international culture in today's world and to think about universal opportunities to appreciate, but also the very specific things that are different about distinctive cultures.